Hello students, I'm Sonali Kekar from City International School, and today we are going to do the last part of the topic, how do organisms reproduce? And this topic we are going to study about reproduction in human beings, then female reproductive system and reproductive health. So let's start this session. So this is a fertilization in human being. We have in the last slide, there was an animation where we saw how the sperm go towards the egg or ovum, all the way from vagina to the fallopian tube. Right. Now what happened in the fallopian tube? As you can see, once the sperms comes in contact with ovum, there is a one lucky one which get inside the ovum. Right, as soon as it get inside the ovum, it get fused with the nucleus which is present in the egg. Right, and the head part will definitely go, head part of the sperm will go inside, the rest of the part will remain outside and it will get degenerate. And what is the future of the other sperms? Other sperm will there for 1 to 2 days, and then of course they will get degenerate. So fertilization, as we know that in human beings, fertilization is internal fertilization. So this process occur in fallopian tube. Ovum comes from the ovary to fallopian tube. Unfertilized egg remains alive for approximate 24 hours, right? This is unfertilized egg. Sperms enter through vagina and reaches the fallopian tube. Sperm must fertilize the egg within the above time. Sperm enters the egg, as we have seen in this. Then there is a fusion of the nucleus. This is very important. Fusion of the nucleus of the sperm and ovum is termed as fertilization. And what happens after fertilization? A zygote is formed. Now zygote undergoes repeated division and gets implanted in the uterus, right? And this is now called embryo. So embryo is just a division of many cells. You can see here the day 1, day 2, you can see the 2 cells are formed in the day 3, 4, and then 8, and then 16, right? And then it finally get implanted here, and we call this as blastocyst, right? The uterus also prepares itself to receive embryo. How uterus prepares itself? The walls of the uterus get thick, right? They get thickened, and there is a lot of supply of blood. So it get thickened, blood supply is heavy because a new blastocysts or the new embryo needs a lot of nutrition because there is a rapid cell division, so it requires a lot of nutrition for that. So embryo descends into uterus in 4 to 5 days. So in the 4 to 5 days, or let's say in a 1 week after the fertilization, it comes, the embryo descends in the uterus, and it get embedded in the uterus. Now this is a very important pathway of the sperm inside the female reproductive organs. So this is very important you know, part of reproduction, because before the fertilization it is very important that sperm has to know the path, right? So in this we can see that the ovum is released from the ovary, right? And it comes in the fallopian tube, and the sperms which are deposited in the female vagina, that takes a path and go towards the ovum and get fertilized, right? Once the fertilization takes place, a zygote is formed, right? Now the zygote is single cell. Zygote is a single cell. Definitely this is diploid in number 2n, because 23 chromosome from sperm and 23 chromosome which are present in the egg, they get fused together. Now in zygote we have 46 number of chromosomes, right? Now this is a single cell. right? Now coming through this whole passage, and it is coming down. During this journey, this single cell zygote is going to divide, right? And there is a division that takes place, that is 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, and it goes on like this, right? Division takes place, and definitely this zygote will divide and it forms embryo, and it will go into implant on the walls of ovary. Here you can see, children, implantation of embryo. Now, during the implantation of embryo, what happened? The uterus, which is with the uterus wall become thickened, right, to nurture the embryo, and the embryo that is coming right from the funnel, that is fallopian tube, that is the fertilized egg. When zygotes start coming towards the uterus walls are already thickened, and the zygote or the embryo, here you can see, uh, implanted in the walls of uterus. So it, and after it get implant, it starts dividing, right? And as we have seen in the earlier section, that the mother's body is designed to undertake the development of child, hence the uterus prepare itself every month to receive and nurture the growing embryo. The linings get thickened and it's richly supplied with blood to nourish the growing embryo. Now this uh, animation shows how the blastocysts, that is the embryo, implanted in the wall of uterus. Now, once the embryo implanted in the wall of uterus, the embryo gets nutrition from the mother's blood. Embryo started getting nutrition from the mother's blood. Here you can see how the mother blood is supplied. Okay, so this part is the mother's blood vessels, which are supplying nutrient, which are supplying oxygen to the child. Now what exactly happens? So there are certain spatial tissues that form placenta. So these tissues are present in the uterus, and these tissues, they form placenta. Now placenta is a spatial tissue that helps the human embryo in obtaining nutrition from the mother's blood. It is nutrition as well as oxygen from the mother's blood. Okay. Now let's know something more about the structure of placenta. It is a disc-like structure embedded in the uterine wall or in the wall of uterus. Now it contains villi on the side of embryo. Here in this picture you can see these are villi. So this is embryo side, okay, and these are villi. These are villi. Now these villi are responsible to increase the surface area so that the maximum exchange of nutrition can take place through these villi, and this is coming from embryo side. Now it contains blood vessels on the mother side. This is the mother side, and you can see the blood vessels in the mother side. And here you can observe there is no mingling of child and mother's blood, so that mother's and child blood doesn't get mixed together, right? Because there are many possibilities that child may not be having the same group as that of mother. So mother's blood and child blood never get mixed. Here, let's see the function. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo. So this mother blood will supply nutrient and oxygen to the embryo. Okay, then helps in the removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste material produced by the embryo. Now, embryo, as you can see here, it's a fully growth fetus. It's no more an embryo, right? So dividing cell are called embryo. The cell zygote, when start dividing, they start dividing into 4, 8, 16, 32 and so far. So that is that time it is called embryo, or we can say till the week of till the 8th week or 9th week, it is still called embryo. But as you can see, that embryo is looking like a human fetus. You can see the organs developing in the fetus. So from 11th or 9th month onwards, we don't call it embryo, we call fetus. So fetus, when you can able to recognize the features of the human embryo, that time we call it a fetus. Okay, now you can see that placenta, okay, now in this case, embryo or developing fetus is quite a big, and of course it releases carbon dioxide, it releases waste material. So the waste material and carbon dioxide from the fetus side, it is coming to the villi part, and the waste material goes to the mother blood. Even the carbon dioxide goes to the mother blood, and from the mother blood, food, nutrition and oxygen goes to the villi. We know the process is called diffusion. Here the placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord, which helps in the transport of substance to and from the embryo. So this is an umbilical cord. You can see this is an umbilical cord where the transfer of substance takes place from embryo to mother and from mother to embryo. Now the development. So the total development of the child, it is completed in 280 days, or you can say 9 months and 9 days. Okay, so this period is known as gestation period. Okay, so you can see here development of a child takes place approximately 9 months and 9 days are also there, or 280 days roughly, called gestation period. And the child is born as a result of rhythmic contraction. Now how this child is coming out from the uterus? Okay, so there will be a contraction in the uterus wall, that is called rhythmic contraction, and because of that rhythmic contraction, the child will come out. So that is called a birth or parturition. Now, what happens when the egg is not fertilized? We know that egg will fertilize, egg fertilizes when egg reaches to this part, that is fallopian tube. Okay, so sperm start coming from vagina, okay, to the uterus, and it comes all the way to oviduct or fallopian tube, where the sperm fuses with the egg and the fertilization takes place. So once the fertilization takes place, the egg will come down to the uterus, where the walls of the uterus are always thickened. They are so thickened so that they can support or they can nurture the developing embryo. But what happens if the fertilization doesn't takes place? What happens if the sperm could not able to fertilize the egg? Okay, so in that case, the walls of the uterus, which were prepared for the young embryo to nurture, they will rupture, they will start coming out, right? And when the walls breaks out, and when it comes out, definitely there are small blood capillaries and mucus which will also come out, and this causes menstruation, or it is a cycle of different changes taking place in the uterus in female. Okay, and this cycle is about 28 days, but that varies from female to female. So this is what is called menstruation. So let's discuss this. If egg is not fertilized, it leaves for about 1 day. Okay, and since the ovary released one egg every month, uterus also prepare itself every month to receive a fertilized egg. So thus its lining becomes thickened and spongy. This is required for nourishing the embryo if the fertilization has taken place. So if the fertilization have taken place, definitely the embryo will embed it in the wall of a uterus, that we have already seen, and then it will grow. Okay, so once the embryo is embedded in the wall of the uterus. That means the lady is pregnant, and you won't see this procedure. Okay, there won't be any menstruation. But in case the egg is not fertilized, definitely the egg with the uterus lining, it will come down, and it will come down in a form of bleeding, right? If fertilization doesn't take place, lining slowly breaks and comes out through the vagina as blood and mucus. This cycle takes place roughly every month and is known as menstruation. It is usually lasts for about 2 to 8 days. Again, depends upon individual to individual. Here I want to show you one thing. This is again an animation. You can see there is a release of ova from here. You can see the ova has released, and this ova is not get fertilized. So the ova and the other lining of the uterus lining is coming out in a form of a bleeding. So but you can see here that they are showing different days, right? On 14th to 15th day, the ova will release and it will be remaining in the fallopian tube, and this is called ovulation. Okay, so in this period, that is after the 14th and 15th day of menstruation completed. After that, the 14th 15th day is a very important day, very crucial day for any woman to get pregnant. Okay, so that day that is known as ovulation period. So the whole menstruation cycle is further divided into 4 parts. So that all phases you don't have. So it's just for the knowledge. I have told you that the 14th and 15th day, the ova is ready over here, which can be fertilized by the sperm. If it get fertilized, lady will get pregnant, and the menstruation won't be there till the time the baby is born. If the egg is not fertilization, again this cycle is going to continue in every month. Right. Now, reproductive health. Now, what do we mean by reproductive health? As we have known that once the menstruation starts in women, and even when a male is has reached his puberty, start making sperms are forming in male. So this particular age is where their reproductive organ has started making the sperm in case of male, and ovum in case of female, right? So here onwards, male and female are capable of reproducing. But is that a right age? Is that a right age that a lady is getting pregnant at the age of 10, or a boy is becoming father at the age of let's say 14? So that is not the right age, though the reproductive organs are started working, right? But still it is not the right age. So that is why we say that we should have a complete knowledge of reproductive health, because that is very important for one, mm, to become a responsible parents, right? So in case of a lady, she can become pregnant, the right age to become pregnant where she is physically fit, mentally fit, and financially also well-being. Then that age is around about uh, uh, 24, 25. Okay, medically it is 21, but nowadays still 21 is where the women are still taking their education. So that's not a right age, uh, seeing today's scenario. So reproductive health, let's come to the definition of reproductive health. Reproductive health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. So physically, mentally, and socially, parents are completely fit, okay, and they can accept their child, they can upbring their child in a best way. So we should have people should have a adequate knowledge of the following. Now what is it? The knowledge of reproductive process and organs. We should know that the reproductive organs, those started making gametes, but at the age of, right, say 10 and 14 in female and male respectively, but that is not the right age to become parents. Okay, so then uh, it is very important to take care of mother and child if the mother is getting pregnant, and okay, then how to take care of mother and child, all that comes under the reproductive health. Now there are following points to be remembered to ensure good care of mother and child. Mother should get a proper nutrient diet when she becomes pregnant, okay, and especially when she is a lactating mother, even in that case also she need a proper nutrient, proper diet, proper age difference between children. That means if she wants to have a second child or the third child, there should be a proper age difference, so the her reproductive system, the uterus, and even her condition, it becomes perfectly well. Okay, so that is also important. Then planning a baby at the right age of mother between 20 to 35 years. uh, so this is the right age for a mother to become pregnant. And right, why we call it right age? Because she is physically, mentally, and also socially well-being. Then restrict the number of children, not to add to the overpopulation. We know that the world is facing overpopulation problems, so we should restrict the number of children in our family. And again, to avoid unwanted pregnancy. So these all things comes under reproductive health. Now coming to the family planning, why it is so important nowadays. As I have already told you, the whole world is facing population explosion problem. It's not the India or China which is facing this problem, whole world is facing this problem, and the consequences are very obvious that we are seeing nowadays, right? There's a lot of competition everywhere. People need job, people need to feed their children, to feed their family, right? And there should be a, like, resources are also limited, we know that. So there is always a competition between the nation to have more and more resources, and that leads to war. So you have, like, it's very obvious looking at the scenario nowadays. Okay, the family planning is necessary to limit the huge increase in population. Overpopulation can give rise to serious problems like lack of food, employment, education, which in turn would affect the economy and also the survival of population. Now coming to the birth control, because overpopulation can be only controlled by the birth control methods. So there are different type of birth control method. Why we need to know this? To prevent the occurrence of pregnancy or to prevent the unwanted pregnancy, which is very important for youth to learn about this. Okay, so we use different methods, and these methods are called contraceptive methods. Let's see the different methods. We have divided this method into different parts. One is mechanical method, a mechanical barrier, right? Then hormonal, then chemical, and then comes surgical methods, right? Coming to the mechanical barrier, so that the sperm does not reach the egg. So mechanical barrier are so that the sperm does not reach egg. So what are the barrier? Condom. Okay, condom can serve this purpose. Diaphragm in women, this can serve the purpose, that can be put in the vagina so that the sperm could not reach to the fallopian tube. Intrauterine copper T, it's an intrauterine copper T placed in uterus by doctor. This has to be done by the doctor, right? This is a copper wire that has to be placed in the uterus. Initially it was used, but nowadays a reformed form or the refined form of copper T is used, that is IUCD, intrauterine contraceptive device. This is very safe because this copper can produce many type of allergies or irritation in the uterus, and this causes problem in female. Okay, so in this case diaphragm and condom are the best. It doesn't have any side effects.
Now the hormonal oral contraceptive pills, you must have heard about Sakhi, and these are the certain oral contraceptive pills that will affect the release of egg. So it usually affects the hormones which produces egg. Okay, so it is not advisable because you are disturbing the body's cycle. Okay, so there it has a lot of side effects though, but nowadays the government, Indian government has come up with a different type of pills which doesn't affect the uh, health of a woman. Now coming to the next is chemical, that is spermicides. These are the chemical. These chemicals can placed inside the vagina so that it kills germs and it cannot reach to the fallopian tube for the fertilization. So these are found in a form of foam, creams, jellies, and they are inserted in vagina to kill germs. Now coming to the surgical method, they are very important methods, very important from the point of view of exam. Okay, so these are used by male and female both partner as a terminal method to prevent any more pregnancy. So these methods are permanent method, you cannot reverse this method. Okay, so once you have a family, okay, you whatever child you want, suppose you want one child or two child, you don't want any more child, so definitely you can go for this method because these are the permanent method. So these method blocks the transport of gametes and prevents contraception. So let's take the first method, that is vasectomy. Okay, vasectomy is applied in case of male. Okay, here you can see vas different and vasectomy. Tomy means you are cutting it. So you cut a piece of vas difference from here. So definitely the sperms which are produced cannot go through the vas different. Okay, and it cannot reach egg because the way of itself you have cut the way of a sperm. So a piece of vas different, it cut from here, and then these two ends of vas difference is tied. So remove and tie up through a incision on a scrotum. Okay, so this is done in male, and the tubectomy is applied in female where the part of fallopian tube. So we know that fallopian tube, so tube and tubectomy. So you can easily remember. So here the tube, a part of tube is cut over here. Again, it is tied at both the ends so that there won't be any transfer of ova taking place. Okay, so these two are surgical methods. Now coming to medical termination of pregnancy, in common word we call it abortion. So MTP, medical termination pregnancy, this should be avoided as much as possible, right? Uh, if the pregnancy is unwanted, definitely the lady go for medical termination of pregnancy. So voluntary termination of pregnancy before before the full term of baby, this termination of pregnancy can be done, but it has to be avoided at any cost. Now coming to the sexual transmitted diseases under reproductive health, you should know the different types of sexually transmitted diseases. Now, which are sexually transmitted diseases in a short form is STDs, right? There exist many communicable diseases which spread by sexual contact during intercourse. So how these diseases are spread? It is spread by the unsafe methods of intercourse, right? Now coming to the different types of STDs, gonorrhea and syphilis. Gonorrhea and syphilis, they are caused by bacteria and they can be treated with antibodies. But the very important from the point of view of exam, that is AIDS. Okay. Now what is the full form of AIDS? Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This is caused by the virus human immunovirus. Now this HIV virus which destroy the human system. Okay, the word itself says that it destroys the immune system of a body. Okay, so even a person comes in contact with a common cold, this person's body cannot fight against the common cold viruses and he may die because of the common cold, because the body immune system is completely collapsed. Okay, and he cannot fight with any kind of disease causing virus or bacteria. There is no cure of AIDS till date, but there are certain courses that are helping persons with AIDS. Okay, the person suffering from AIDS eventually dies due to infection. Okay, so there is one more, that is genital and anal rats. These are also diseases caused by unsafe sex. Now HIV can also cause due to the injections. Okay, people take the people who take narcotic drugs. Okay, they inject drugs in their blood vein through needles, and they use one single needle is used by many people, so that is very unsafe. Then blood transfusion, if a healthy person is given a blood which has not been tested for HIV and that blood is infected by AIDS virus, HIV virus, then definitely the person who is getting the blood will be infected. So there are different ways also where a person can be infected by HIV. Okay. Now, to prevent STDs, you have to ensure the following things, that is use of condoms during intercourse. And you should take care when there is any blood transfusion. You should be very careful, and you should take all the precautions, ask doctor and hospital authorities whether the blood has been checked properly or not, or we call it blood has been scanned properly or not. This is all about today's topic, student. Practice today's topic, and thank you so much.